My husband left me for a younger woman, but came crawling back when he saw how I was doing. Like the video and subscribe to support our channel. Thank you. The late afternoon sun filtered through the sheer curtains of Jessica's loft in Seattle, Washington, casting a warm golden glow that seemed to mock the storm brewing in her heart. At 42, Jessica was a woman of quiet beauty, with deep hazel eyes that held stories of love, struggle, and dreams. Married for 15 years to David, a 50-year-old man who once made her laugh with his goofy impressions and promises of a shared future, she believed her life was a near-perfect tapestry. Their loft, furnished with reclaimed wood and photos from road trips across the Pacific Northwest, was a testament to years of partnership. But that afternoon, as she gripped her phone with trembling hands, Jessica felt her world crumble. A text from her friend Rachel, sent with urgency, delivered the blow. "Jess, you need to see this. It's David, on my co-worker's Instagram story. He's with some young girl. I hate telling you this, but you deserve to know." Jessica's heart raced, a mix of disbelief and dread. She opened Instagram, clicking the profile Rachel mentioned. There it was, a fleeting video. David, in his favorite navy button-up, laughing at a trendy rooftop bar in Capitol Hill, next to a young woman with long brunette hair, manicured nails painted hot pink, and a dress that screamed youth. The story's caption, dotted with heart emojis, read, "Best night ever with my love." Jessica's breath caught. The girl, barely 20, was Kayla, a name she'd never heard. How could this be? David, who'd kissed her cheek that morning before heading to his tech job, was now someone else's love. She spent the afternoon replaying the video, searching for clues, as a sharp pain settled in her chest. When David got home around 7, Jessica had already cried quietly in the bathroom, washed her face and steeled herself for confrontation. Sitting on the leather sectional, phone in hand, she looked at him. "David, who's Kayla?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with raw emotion. He froze, his laptop bag slipping slightly from his grip. "What? Jess, what are you talking about?" He deflected, but his usually confident eyes flickered. Jessica didn't back down. She showed him the video, pausing on the frame where he and Kayla clinked colorful cocktails. "This, David. Explain." The silence was deafening. He ran a hand through his graying hair, sighed, and let the mask fall. "Jess, I didn't want it to come out like this. I fell for her. Kayla's different. She makes me feel alive. You and me, we've been stuck in a rut. You know that. I didn't plan this, but it happened." Each word stung, but the worst was yet to come. "I want a divorce. I want to live this with her." Jessica's world spun. Divorce? He was throwing away 15 years for a girl who'd barely finished college? Anger mixed with pain, but she held her composure. "You're serious, David? You're tossing everything we built for her?" He looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "It's what I want, Jess. I'm sorry." That night, David packed a suitcase, stuffed it with clothes, and left the loft, saying he needed space to figure himself out. Jessica, sitting on the balcony overlooking Puget Sound, watched the city lights and let tears fall. But amid the grief, a spark of resolve ignited. She wouldn't be the victim. She didn't know how, but she'd find a way to rise. The days that followed were sleepless. The loft, once filled with their laughter, now echoed an emptiness that choked her. Friends like Rachel and Lauren tried to comfort her, bringing rosé and advice. "Jess, you're gorgeous, strong, don't let this guy break you," Lauren said, while Rachel urged, "You need to get out, take care of yourself, show him what he's missing." Jessica listened, but the words felt distant. Then, on a rainy morning, Rachel showed up with an idea. "Come to the gym with me, just to shake things up. What do you say?" Reluctantly, Jessica agreed. The gym, a sleek space with views of Elliott Bay, became her escape. She started jogging on the treadmill, feeling her body respond to the rush. Lauren, a kickboxing enthusiast, suggested she try it. "It's great for letting out the anger, trust me." Jessica, who'd never been a fighter, gave it a shot. In her first class, pummeling a heavy bag with borrowed gloves, she felt something new, a strength she didn't know she had. Each punch was a silent scream against betrayal, against pain. Meanwhile, David was living a warped fairy tale in a Belltown condo. Kayla, with her 20-year-old vibrancy, declared her love in sugary texts and Instagram posts. "You're my everything," she'd say, while asking for a new MacBook, concert tickets, or weekend getaways to Portland. David, blinded by infatuation, swiped his card without hesitation, buying designer purses, sparkly earrings, and covering her bi-weekly salon visits for neon nails and balayage highlights. He thought it was love, that Kayla saw him as the dynamic man he wanted to be, not the aging exec fearing irrelevance. But Kayla had her own agenda, and David, lost in his delusion, missed the signs. Jessica, though, was finding her rhythm. Kickboxing became a daily ritual, the gym her sanctuary. She felt her muscles tighten, her body lighten. Rachel pushed her to return to finance, where Jessica had thrived years ago. With Rachel's connections, she landed a job at a downtown brokerage, diving into market analysis with a clarity that surprised her. For the first time in weeks, Jessica caught herself smiling in the gym's mirror before a kickboxing class. Her reflection showed a woman who, though wounded, was rising. What she didn't know was that fate had surprises in store. At the gym, a pair of eyes watched her with quiet curiosity, and an unexpected encounter was about to shift her story. Seattle's mornings had a way of blending urban grit with the hope of a fresh start, and Jessica was beginning to find reasons to get out of bed. The loft in Seattle, once a tomb of memories with David, now buzzed with small rituals she crafted for herself. The scent of fresh espresso filled the kitchen as indie folk played softly, and Jessica, hair tied in a messy bun, laced up her sneakers for another kickboxing session. The gym, a short walk away, was her haven. Each jab at the heavy bag, each sharp kick, purged the pain still lingering in her chest, slowly giving way to a strength she never knew she possessed. At 42, Jessica felt her body respond with energy, her arms toned, her legs steady, and a spark in her eyes that her friends noticed with glee. Rachel, who joined her for jogs along the waterfront, couldn't stop gushing. "Jess, you're killing it. Look at that glow. David's probably kicking himself." Jessica laughed, but the sting of betrayal lingered. Images of David with Kayla, the 20-year-old who'd stolen him, flashed unbidden, especially in the quiet nights when the loft's silence made her question her worth. But she refused to surrender. Rachel and Lauren were her anchors. Over craft beers at a Fremont brewery, Lauren grabbed her hand and said with piercing honesty, "You're more than he deserves, Jess. It's not just looks. It's your spirit. And it's massive. We're here to remind you." Those words echoed as Jessica pounded the heavy bag in her next class, sweat dripping, heart racing. Kickboxing wasn't just exercise, it was a rebellion within. Her trainer, a Seattleite named Marcus with a surfer's tan, praised her drive. "You've got grit, Jess. You're becoming a real fighter." She was starting to believe it. Outside the gym, Jessica was reclaiming her career in finance with newfound zeal. Rachel, who worked at a brokerage, convinced her to return to the field where she'd always excelled at spotting trends. In a glass-walled office overlooking the Space Needle, Jessica pored over spreadsheets, her focus razor-sharp. The work reminded her of who she was before marriage dulled her edges. Slowly, she rebuilt her confidence, swapping frumpy sweaters for tailored blazers that mirrored her new poise. But something else at the gym was catching her eye. Among the kickboxing crew, a man with warm brown skin and kind eyes watched her subtly. Nathan, 40, newly divorced, had a calm strength that stood out amid the gym's intensity. A public defender by day, he traded suits for boxing gloves at night, seeking, like Jessica, an outlet for his own scars. At first it was just glances, a shy wave after class, a quip about the gym's questionable hip-hop playlist. Jessica noticed his smile, the way he patiently coached newbies, and something in her chest, long dormant, stirred. One evening, after a grueling session, Nathan approached as she stowed her gloves. "You're pretty good at this, you know." "Like you were born to throw punches," he said, his tone blending respect and playfulness. Jessica, caught off guard, laughed, her face flushed from exertion and sudden shyness. "Me, just trying not to break anything," she shot back. But his steady, genuine gaze made her feel seen in a way she hadn't in months. They chatted briefly about Seattle's endless rain, the best food trucks in Pioneer Square, the gym's quirky vibe. When Nathan hesitantly asked if she'd grab a smoothie at a nearby cafe after the next class, Jessica paused, Her heart, still bruised, urged caution, but his warmth made her say, sure, why not? She left the gym that night with an unexplained smile, feeling alive. While Jessica carved new paths, David was spiraling in Belltown. Kayla, with her relentless energy and endless demands, turned every day into a costly thrill. The condo he'd rented, with its sleek views of the Sound, was always cluttered with her friends, empty wine bottles, and Uber Eats bags from upscale restaurants. Kayla surfaced with new wants weekly: a Gucci backpack, VIP passes to a music festival, a trip to Napa Valley. "Babe, don't you want me happy?" she'd pout, disarming him. David, drunk on her youth, drained the joint account he still shared with Jessica, unaware she'd notice. He believed Kayla loved him, that her sparkle reflected his vitality. One night, as she primped for another club outing, he overheard her on the phone. "He buys me everything, girl, everything. I'm living the dream." He grinned, proud, missing the calculating edge in her voice. Kayla saw David as a means to an end, funding her whims while she plotted her next move. But her detachment was starting to show, and David, though smitten, wasn't blind forever. One afternoon, while Kayla spent hours at a salon getting a blowout, David got a bank alert. The account was nearly empty. He frowned, confused. How? He knew he had to talk to Jessica, sort out the account, but the thought of facing her unnerved him. Jessica, meanwhile, was spotting odd transactions in the joint account. Rachel, savvy with money, warned her, "Jess, you need to check this. He's spending like there's no tomorrow." Jessica, fueled by anger and curiosity, gathered statements, noting obscene charges for luxury boutiques and weekend trips. She filed them away, a plan forming. Not yet time to confront him. She'd be strategic. At the gym, she and Nathan grew closer. He shared stories of growing up in Tacoma, his love for kayaking on Lake Union, and Jessica found herself laughing easily. During a sparring session, as he adjusted her stance, his hand lingered on her arm, and she felt a flush. "Too much?" he asked, grinning sheepishly. She shook her head, the moment etched in her mind. That night, lying in bed, she thought of Nathan's kindness, David's betrayal, and knew one thing: she was changing, and no one, not even David, could take that away. What she didn't suspect was that in Belltown, David was seeing cracks in his fantasy, and a reckoning with Kayla was closer than he thought. Seattle's spring sky glowed with a crisp blue that only the Pacific Northwest could muster, and Jessica walked along the waterfront with a lightness she hadn't felt in months. The wind from the Sound tousled her hair, now cropped in a sleek bob. Rachel swore made her look like a rom-com star. At 42, Jessica was rediscovering herself, not just as the woman David left, but as someone authoring her own story. Kickboxing, now the pulse of her routine, sculpted her body and spirit. Each strike on the bag was a declaration of strength, each bead of sweat a step away from the pain that once defined her. At the brokerage, where she spent afternoons navigating market swings, Jessica found joy in her skill, closing deals that impressed even seasoned colleagues. But what set her heart racing was Nathan. The 40-year-old lawyer, with his gentle eyes and steady presence, was weaving into her thoughts. At the gym, their glances weren't shy anymore. He'd linger to tweak her form or crack a joke about Marcus's obsession with 90s rap, and Jessica's pulse quickened. Not from the workout, but from something she wasn't ready to name. One night, after a brutal class, Nathan caught her by the lockers. "Jess, ever thought about competing? 'Cause you're getting scary good," he teased, his smile warm and teasing. She laughed, brushing it off. "Compete? Only if it's to knock out some bad memories." The words slipped out, heavier than intended, and Nathan's tone softened. "You know, sometimes we fight to leave the past behind, and you're winning that one." His words hit deep, and their eyes locked, saying more than words could. That night, he reminded her of their smoothie plan. Jessica wavered, David's betrayal still a faint echo, but Nathan's sincerity won. "Okay, but it better be blueberry," she joked, hiding her nerves. He laughed, vowing to find Seattle's best, and they set it for the next evening. While Jessica bloomed, David was trapped in a dream turning sour. In Belltown, the condo he'd leased for his fling with Kayla was a shrine to excess. Kayla, 20 and insatiable, made every day a pricey spectacle. Her closet overflowed with Nordstrom hauls, shiny handbags, glittery heels, and dresses that cost a fortune. She'd beg for weekends at a Whidbey Island spa, tickets to Coachella, or a new Apple Watch. "Babe, you want me to shine, right?" she'd coo. And David, lost in her glow, paid up, dipping deeper into the joint account. He thought she loved him, that her youth made him relevant. But doubts crept in. Her smile felt rehearsed, her affection transactional. One evening, as she got ready for a club, he caught her on the phone. "Girl, he's my ATM. I'm so close to getting what I want. A condo in my sister's name, then I'm out." David, leaning against the doorframe, felt his stomach drop, but he swallowed the truth, telling himself it was a joke. Kayla called him my king and posted lovey-dovey selfies. How could it be fake? Jessica, oblivious to David's unraveling, prepped for her date with Nathan. She picked a flowy green dress, silver hoop earrings, and felt a flutter of anticipation. The cafe by Pike Place Market was buzzing, but when Nathan arrived in a linen shirt, his smile cutting through the crowd, everything else faded. They sat by a window, the sound shimmering outside, and talked like old friends. Nathan opened up about his divorce, not betrayal, but mismatched goals. "I wanted adventure. She wanted a picket fence. We drifted," he admitted, his honesty disarming. Jessica shared about David, not with venom, but quiet grief. "He chose a different life. I'm learning to choose mine." Nathan's gaze held hers. "You deserve a life that makes you light up, Jess. And you're doing a damn good job." His words, simple but real, made her blush. They laughed about 80s movies, Seattle's coffee obsession, and when he walked her home, the silence was electric. "Can I ask you out again?" he ventured, a hint of nerves. Jessica grinned, heart soaring. "Only if there's blueberry smoothies." He chuckled, promising, and she floated upstairs, hope sparking. In the days that followed, Jessica and Nathan grew closer. A coffee after training, a stroll through the Olympic Sculpture Park, a night at a jazz club in Belltown. Each moment built something new, something Jessica feared but craved. Nathan didn't push, his steady presence a reminder that love didn't have to hurt. Meanwhile, Jessica tracked the joint account, alarmed by David's spending. Rachel urged her to lawyer up. "Protect what's yours, Jess. He's burning through cash like it's confetti." Jessica nodded, and through a brokerage contact, hired a divorce attorney, Olivia, who started digging into the statements. "This is serious," Olivia said, scanning the numbers. "He's blowing your shared assets. We'll build a strong case." Jessica, though furious, felt calm. She didn't want revenge, just freedom. Every step she took, whether in the ring, at work, or with Nathan, brought her closer to it. In Belltown, David felt the weight of his choices. Kayla, more demanding, pushed for a European vacation, a cost he couldn't bear. One night, as she slept, he scrolled Instagram, landing on Jessica's profile. Her photos, beaming at the gym, polished at a work event, radiating a joy he hadn't seen in years, hit like a freight train. Who was this woman? Where was the Jessica he'd left? For the first time, he felt a void Kayla couldn't fill. He didn't know it, but his house of cards was about to collapse, and the truth about his love was closer to exposure than he could imagine. Seattle's nightlife thrummed with energy, but in David's Belltown condo the air was thick with a tension he couldn't shake. The sound of ferries on the Sound, once soothing, now mocked his unease. At 50, David felt his choices crushing him. Kayla, the 20-year-old he thought was his spark, had turned his life into a whirlwind of bills and brittle promises. The condo, with its minimalist decor and scattered wine glasses, mirrored the mess he'd let in. Kayla came home late, flaunting new Sephora hauls or begging cash for a yoga retreat in Bainbridge. "Babe, you know I'm worth it," she'd say, her smile less charming each time. David, once energized by her, now saw cracks in her facade. Bank alerts hit like punches. The joint account, which he'd recklessly tapped, was bleeding dry, and he knew Jessica's sharp mind would catch on. What he didn't expect was the truth about Kayla hitting him like a wrecking ball. One Friday night, as Kayla prepped for another party, David stayed behind, claiming exhaustion. She, with her hair flat-ironed and nails freshly done in glittery teal, shrugged and left, the condo falling silent. He grabbed a stout from the fridge, slumped on the couch and scrolled Instagram. Jessica's posts haunted him. She was transformed, stronger, glowing, with a fire he hadn't seen in years. A clip of her kickboxing, landing a fierce jab, stopped him cold. Who was she? Regret and jealousy gnawed at him, but he pushed it aside. Then he heard Kayla's voice from the bedroom. She'd left her phone, and a FaceTime call blared. "Girl, he's my golden ticket. Percy's trip's a new iPad. I'm this close to locking down a place for my mom, then I'm done. He's so old, ugh, it's gross." Her laugh sliced through the air. David froze, the beer slipping from his hand, splashing the rug. Each word shattered his fantasy. He stumbled to the bedroom, where the phone still broadcast her betrayal, and ended the call with a shaking finger. When Kayla returned, giggling like nothing happened, David faced her, rage burning. "What did you mean, done with me?" he growled, eyes blazing. Kayla faltered, her smile vanishing. "Babe, what? You're tripping," she dodged, but David pressed, repeating her words. "You think I'm gross? You're using me for a condo." Kayla, cornered, switched gears, touching his arm with fake sweetness. "You're twisting it, I love you. My friend's just jealous, talking crap. How could I think you're gross, my king?" Her cold eyes betrayed her. David felt something snap. "Get out," he said, low and final. "Pack your stuff and leave, now." Kayla protested, fake tears flowing, but his fury was ironclad. She grabbed a bag, stuffed it with clothes, and stormed out, slamming the door. Alone, David collapsed, the silence amplifying his pain. He stayed up, replaying every moment with Kayla, every dollar spent, every lie. How had he been so blind? And worse, how had he discarded Jessica for this? Jessica, unaware of David's collapse, slept soundly in Seattle, her days filled with a lightness that stunned her. Her bond with Nathan deepened with every moment. After their smoothie date, they met outside the gym, coffee at a Fremont roastery, walks through Gasworks Park, a night swaying to live music in Ballard. Each encounter built something solid, something Jessica both feared and yearned for. Nathan didn't rush her, his quiet strength proving love could be safe. At work, Jessica shone. A major client praised her market insights, and Rachel, thrilled, pushed her to lead a bigger project. "You're unstoppable, Jess. And that glow. Nathan's doing, huh?" she teased. Jessica grinned, admitting he helped, but knowing the real change was hers, she'd learned to love herself, and no one could steal that. Olivia, her attorney, moved fast on the divorce. The joint account statements Jessica provided showed David's reckless spending. "He can't justify this," Olivia said, adjusting her glasses. "The loft is yours, and we'll make him pay for the damage." Jessica nodded, feeling relief and strength. She didn't crave vengeance, just justice and, above all, freedom. In Belltown, David woke with bloodshot eyes and a desperate plan. He had to see Jessica, beg forgiveness, fix what he'd broken. He stalked her Instagram, each photo a reminder of his stupidity. He liked a kickboxing video, then one from a work event, and in a frenzy, messaged her, "Jess, we need to talk, please." Silence answered. Jessica, seeing the notification, felt a surge of anger. How dare he? She blocked him, heart pounding but resolute. David, seeing the block, felt the ground vanish. He drove to the loft, parking outside their old building. Then he saw Nathan, gym bag in hand, strolling through the gate. Jealousy blinded him. He called Jessica, got voicemail, and fired off texts. "Who's this guy? You're bringing men to our place?" Jessica, fresh from a shower post. "Oh, wait. You didn't ask for that. My bad." Anyway, Jessica, chilling post-workout, saw the texts and laughed, bitter but free. He thought he still had a claim. Sitting on her balcony with coffee, she typed a cold reply. "David, what you blew on your fling is worth more than this loft. It's mine, and I do what I want. My lawyer's got this, leave me alone." She sent it, blocked the number, and felt a rush of power. Olivia confirmed the loft was secure and a settlement was coming. David tried calling, pleading, but Jessica stood firm. "Talk to your girlfriend," she texted, then cut him off. David, reeling, realized he'd lost everything. Jessica, though, was out with Nathan, laughing at a Fremont taco joint, her heart light. But neither knew fate had one last twist, a hidden truth that would shake their worlds. Seattle's dawn carried a crisp breeze that felt like a promise of renewal, and Jessica, at 42, felt it in every fiber. The loft, once a shrine to her pain, was now a haven of triumphs. Walls displayed new photos, weekend hikes with friends, medals from amateur kickboxing matches. A canvas Rachel painted with, "You are your own home." Jessica rose early, blending a kale smoothie, dressing for the brokerage, where she now led a team that revered her. But that morning, lacing up for a waterfront jog, her phone buzzed with a text from David via a new number. "Jess, please, I messed up. Can we meet?" She stared, heart racing, not with longing but fury tinged with triumph. He was desperate, and she held the reins. With a sigh, she blocked it, tossed her phone in her bag and ran, the sound's rhythm and her playlist's hip-hop driving her forward. David, across town, was drowning in his self-made hell. The Belltown condo, once a party hub, was now a cage. Without Kayla, whom he'd kicked out after her betrayal, the silence screamed. At 50, he looked a decade older. No Jessica, no money, no respect from peers who'd heard of his fall. David drank alone, chasing fleeting flings that fizzled fast. He haunted Capitol Hill bars, but women sensed his desperation and bailed. He craved someone to make him feel alive, but each rejection reflected his ruin. He knew he'd blown it, and regret ate him alive. He still sent Jessica emails, long pleas for forgiveness, but she'd set them to auto-trash. One night, he drove to the loft, but the doorman, per Jessica's orders, shut him down. "You're not welcome, sir," he said firm. David slunk back to Belltown, pride shattered, and for the first time faced the truth. He might never win her back. But he didn't know a secret from his past. Buried even from Jessica during their marriage, was about to surface, flipping everything. Jessica, thriving, glowed at work. A project she spearheaded drew a major San Francisco firm who invited her to speak at a national conference. Rachel threw a surprise office party, with cupcakes, streamers, and a banner. Jessica, finance queen, she laughed, teary, hugging friends who'd lifted her up. In kickboxing, she prepped for her first amateur tournament, with Nathan cheering loudest. "You're gonna crush it, champ," he said, kissing her forehead. Jessica, who never dreamed she'd compete, felt unstoppable with him. But one quiet afternoon, sorting old files in the loft, she found a folder David had left, stamped with an unfamiliar company logo. Inside were contracts, receipts, and printed emails revealing a bombshell. David, for years, had siphoned money from their joint account into a hidden fund under a cousin's name. The sum, built over a decade, could buy a second home. Jessica's blood boiled. He hadn't just cheated with Kayla, he'd robbed her during their marriage, hiding a fortune that was theirs. Shaking, she called Olivia, who scanned the papers with glee. "This is gold, Jess. He's done. We can reopen the asset split and nail him." Jessica paused. The money tempted, but she craved justice and maybe more, to show David he no longer owned her. She told Olivia to prep the case, but with a catch. She wanted to face him, not out of anger, but to close the book for good. Olivia set a meeting in a neutral downtown office, lawyers present. David, getting the summons, felt ice in his veins. He knew Jessica had something, but not its scale. On the day, Jessica walked in, sharp in a tailored suit, hair loose, eyes calm but lethal. David, haggard with stubble, was a ghost of himself. "Jess, I don't know where to start," he stammered, but she cut him off, sliding the folder across the table. "You stole from us, David. While I trusted you, you hid millions, then you left me for a girl who only wanted your wallet." Her voice was steady, pure truth. David mumbled excuses, work stress, fear of failure, but they rang hollow. "I screwed up, Jess. Give me a chance. I love you," he begged, eyes wet. Jessica smiled, sad but free. "The lines moved on, David. I don't love you anymore. You lost that when you lied." She stood, leaving the papers with Olivia, who vowed to seal the deal. David sat broken, knowing it was over. The final blow came weeks later. Jessica, with the recovered funds, chose not to hoard them. Inspired by Nathan's dream to give back, she donated half to a non-profit teaching martial arts to kids in underserved Seattle neighborhoods. With the rest, she opened a small gym in Fremont, offering free kickboxing classes for women escaping hardship. The launch was a blast. Live music, food trucks, Nathan beaming at her side. You're unreal. You know that, he said, pulling her close. Jessica, laughing, replied, Only 'cause you make me wanna be. The real surprise hit months later, in Cannon Beach, Oregon. Nathan, planning in secret, took her to a quiet shore at sunset. Under a fiery sky, he knelt, not with a ring, but a leather bracelet etched with fighter. Jess, you showed me love's a fight worth winning. Want to be my partner in the ring and in gravely in life? Jessica, heart bursting, said yes, tears mixing with laughter. They embraced, the ocean their witness, as she knew she'd found her home. David, meanwhile, faded into obscurity in a rented Tacoma apartment, scraping by as a freelance consultant, dull and loveless. He read about Jessica's gym in the news, saw her with Nathan online, and knew she'd won. The secret he'd kept for years, instead of breaking her, had made her soar. Jessica, now the hero of her own story, shone too bright for the past to dim. What did you think of the story? Leave your rating from 0 to 10 in the comments. Subscribe to get our stories firsthand. Check out this story popping up on the screen. You'll love it. See you soon.